With the Geoport capability of both Cyclone and Tempest, we have the capability to do both 9600 baud modem and also 9600 baud data fax send and receive. What we can also do in addition to this, though, is on-screen telephony. This is something unique to Macintosh. What I'd like to show you is Apple Phone, which is an application shipping on the hard drive of the Mac when you buy it. To enable this technology, you would need to purchase the Geoport telecom adapter. If we look at our interface here, it's a very simple interface. Under my phone menu, I've got Record Greeting, and I can select which dial mode I want to be in. If we bring up Record Greeting, we can leave a quick message. So this will be the actual message when someone calls and gets my answering machine. We can just hit Record. Hi, you've reached Charlie Tritchler. I'm away from my desk right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for calling. And we can play it back. Hi, you've reached Charlie Tritchler. I'm away from my desk right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for calling. So once we've actually left a message, that's something when someone dials in and gets our phone and we're away from the desk, they will hear that greeting. When they've left a message, we see down below time and date stamp of the actual message. Third parties can go ahead and use things like caller ID and database lookup to make this much more advanced. But in this application, I can actually see my message, when it arrived, and what time. To play it back, I just click on the play button, and we'll hear it start to play back.
Hey, Video, Austin here. Just trying to get a hold of you so I can talk about the...
I can click on my pause button at any time, and since it's digitally recorded onto my hard drive, I can do things like speed up the message and slow it down. So let me start it playing again, and then we'll play it at twice speed and half speed for times when people call up and they either speak too slowly or speak too quickly.
Data sheet's with you.
Here's
You're not
double
around,
speed.
So what I'll do is go ahead and fax it over to you, and you go ahead and let me know what you think of it, and I appreciate the call back. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
So we have full control of the phone itself. That's an example of actually receiving a message, but I can also make an outgoing call. To make an outgoing call, I click on my off hook button, and then I can dial my number. I can either dial on screen or just use the keypad of my keyboard.
This is Austin.
Hi, Austin. It's Charlie calling. I got your message about the fax. Is there any way you can send that over to me again?
Yeah, no problem. I'll just go ahead and send it over to you. I'll do that in a couple minutes here.
Okay, great. Well, if you send it over, I should be here at my desk, so I'll pick it up and we can talk about it a little bit later.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Austin.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And I can just click my off hook button to go back on hook. So that's the way to actually use the telephone. It's fully integrated, and with using the Telecaster monitor, I have the capability to have my speakers and my microphone directly in my monitor. First thing we wanted to show you when taking a look at some of the AV technologies is the video in capabilities of Cyclone and Tempest. The way we do this is with an application on the hard drive when you buy the machine called Video Monitor. Let me launch Video Monitor first. And you'll see that we have full motion live video in a window. Now this is done by the video digitization hardware that's right on the motherboard of both Cyclone and Tempest. One of the advantages here is I can have full motion video and not need a second monitor. But one of the other things I can do is actually resize my video to be much larger than just a quarter screen. I can click and drag it to any size. Here we're almost full screen, and of course we can go to full screen as well. What I can also do, given this program, is I can actually capture single frames of 24-bit video. So for instance, let's go back to our half monitor size and say we wanted to grab a picture of Janet. I hit copy. It takes a picture of Janet. Now we can go to any application which accepts PICT, in this case Microsoft Word. I'll bring Word to the front here. See, I've already put her name in as a placeholder. I go to my edit menu and say paste. And it brings in that snapshot. Now it's very easy to bring in both 24-bit as well as lower quality images. In this case we've got a 24-bit image that we pulled directly from the application and pasted it into this application. So it's very simple to do video in. The benefits here, of course, are that we can bring it in without any extra additional hardware. It's just using the built-in hardware of the machine as well as the application. By combining AV technologies, we're able to take advantage of wonderful new technologies. Things like video conference. For example, on the hard drive when you buy the machine, you'll actually get a product from Electronic Studio called Face-to-Face, which allows us to use real-time, QuickTime compressed video over the network. So here we've got a video conference in session. If we're using the audio of the telephone, I could be using my Geoport telephone to talk as well. And here my partner is trying to actually show me something at the other end. I can get a little bit closer just by taking my zoom bar at the bottom here, zooming in and actually getting a closer view of it. I can see that there are 2 ports on the side, and if we flip it over, we can actually see some of the other features. There we've got the actual logo on top. So that's an example of using real-time over-the-network video conference. Notice the quality is very good. It's using QuickTime compression to crush down the data size and to make it much smaller than just the raw video you'd normally send over the network. In addition to video in, we also have the capability to go to video out. This means I can take my Macintosh monitor video, and instead of going to an RGB monitor, we can direct it directly to a television. There's no need to buy additional hardware to do my conversion. It's done automatically on my Cyclone or Tempest. To access this, we go into our monitor's control panel, which looks very familiar so far. However, when I click on my Options button, you'll notice I've got some things in addition to what I've usually had. In addition to the select monitor type, which gives me my different resolutions, I also have my video display options at the bottom. Right now, we're selected on Display Video on RGB monitor. However, if we click on Display Video on television, down below I can change my different standards. So I'm at NTSC standard, but I can also go out to PAL standard. So we're actually ready for worldwide introduction. At the bottom I have Use Flicker-Free Format. This is the option to actually turn on Apple Convolution. By clicking on this, I'll avoid some of the flicker that you see when you typically display NTSC video, when you typically display an RGB video signal on an NTSC monitor. Now to enact it, all I need to do is click OK, and I'll get a dialog box ask me if I'm sure I want to switch to my television display. If I click on Switch, my video signal immediately jumps to my television. Notice how solid the lines are and the fact that there's actually no creep at all whatsoever on my actual video signal. Okay, let me show you how we can actually use this. Now that I'm on a television, let me close this guy, and we'll open up an application we already have running. So we have Alice Persuasion, and we'll put it into slideshow mode. The benefit here is that I could actually be doing a presentation and using my microphone to do a voiceover of the actual presentation. We'll leave Play Movies on, so I'll show you what QuickTime looks like playing back on an NTSC monitor. We'll say OK, and our presentation begins. Now, if I was using my microphone at this point and we had a video tape player in between both my Macintosh and my television, we could actually record all the video directly to videotape. And with my microphone connected, I can also record my sound to do any voiceovers. So for instance, on this slide, we might say the Cyclone line. The Macintosh allows you to communicate in more ways than ever before using AV technologies. On our second slide, we might make some more comments. And on the third slide, I have a QuickTime movie, so you can see what it looks like.
Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings.
So even on an NTSC video monitor, we still get full quality of QuickTime, full motion video. Another one of the AV technologies is the capability to do speech recognition and text-to-speech. Let me first show you the speech recognition system. To enable this, we're actually using the DSP on the motherboard of both Cyclone and Tempest. To turn it on, I go to my control panels, open up our speech setup control panel, and we're presented with the intro page. The pages are moved between by using this pop-up menu. Here's introduction, name, feedback, and attention key. Introduction is the first page that comes up the very first time a user opens up speech. Notice down below I have an introduction button. By clicking on it, it would take me to a HyperCard stack to teach the user how to use speech, how to set up the microphone, etc. But let's go and look at some of the other features. If we go to name, this is the name the computer will actually use to understand what you're saying. So when you say the word computer, immediately our plain talk speech recognition system will start to listen to what you say after that. So it's sort of a key word that allows you to initiate speech only when you want it. Also notice down below I can choose different ways to use that. Right now I have it set to always use the word computer before I say anything else. I can also set it up to only say the word once and then have the computer actually listen to me for up to, in this case, 15 seconds after I've said that word. But we'll leave it at name required, just to give that as an example. Also, this word can be anything. I've got it as computer, and the system is optimized for that, but we can use any word we choose. Under feedback, this is how the computer will actually speak back to me. So I have a number of different characters I can choose from, and you'll see characters actually pop up down at the bottom. I'll get a floating palette, which shows my character, which is animated to let me know both when sound is going out, and will also animate to show itself speaking back to me. The way it speaks back to me is through voice, and we've got multiple voices. We have both male and female voice in both compressed and full versions. The full version is a much higher quality, but takes up a lot more memory. The smaller version, the compressed version, has a much smaller RAM footprint, allowing me to run more applications, but the quality isn't quite as high. Finally, at the bottom, I also have two feedback mechanisms, so every time I initiate an action, it will use one of these clicks, and every time an action is completed, it will use the secondary click. Okay, that's a quick tour. Why don't we turn speech on? Once I've turned it on, we'll see a small palette pop up at the bottom, and we actually hear the computer start to speak back to us. So there's our actual character. You see the keyword underneath him, and once it's ready to go, it will let us know.
Ready.
And notice as I speak, we start to see some feedback towards the ear. That's because the machine is actually hearing us and can start to process speech as soon as we say that key word. Now what can I do with this? Well, here we're at the Finder level, so I can do things like, computer, close all windows. Computer, open. Computer, select all. Computer, copy. Computer, open my word processor. Computer, paste. As you can see, down at the bottom, our window interface to our character here actually covers up some of the screen. So it's nicer to shrink it down so you only see his face, so you can only see the feedback. And we can drag it anywhere we want on the screen, so if we want to put it off to the side here, we can do that very easily. Notice when I'm speaking into the microphone, you still get the feedback, so I know that the computer is listening, but I don't have to get all the feedback of the actual text flying by. Okay, let me show you some other things we can do. Since I can read all of the menus in any application, anything that's available on my menu is also available to the speech recognition. So for instance, computer, select all. Computer, clear. Now if I want to actually interact beyond just the application menus, say for instance we wanted to call up another program, I can do that very easily as well. So let me type in some mathematical formula. And let's highlight it. And we can actually go and invoke our calculator. Computer, calculate this. And there it just returns the value and pastes it directly into Microsoft Word. That's as simple as using Apple events and quick keys to speak back and forth between two programs. Now that's a very simple example, but you can imagine what developers are doing with the Apple Event Suite to make very powerful things available. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you with our speech recognition capability is the capability to do things on the fly. So let's get out of Microsoft Word here. Computer, quit. Computer, quit. Computer, no. Computer, quit. One of the other things we can do with quick keys is to quickly move between different states on the computer. For instance, it's somewhat difficult to go through and change the color depth of my monitors, but I can do it very simply using our speech recognition. Computer, black and white. Computer, colors. So very quickly I can move between those two environments. It's streamlining the way I work to make sure I'm doing it as efficiently as possible and not wasting time clicking through menus. With our text-to-speech capability, we can actually use a standard application and add speech to it. So for instance, Apple's taken TeachText and added the speech capability. Notice it's exactly the same as the old TeachText, but I now have a speech menu as well, where I can choose different voices. Let's choose the female voice so you can hear the difference between the male and female voice, and we'll actually type something in here. That's a very difficult sentence for most text-to-speech systems because of the fact that we have things like drive and doctor and the words records and records. Exact same type, but it's pronounced two different ways based on the context. Our plain talk text-to-speech system is intelligent enough to understand which way to pronounce that word. Now notice I can go up under my speech menu and say speak all, or we could actually highlight just a part of it and speak just the selection. So let's have it speak all. I'll invoke it just by saying speak all from the menu.
Dr. Richards records the records on Richards Drive.
Let's switch the voice. We'll jump back to male, and you can hear the quality there.
Dr. Richards records the records on Richards Drive.
Also, it's smart at figuring out things like dollars and cents.
$345,876.98.
It can even do words that sound very similar.
Ought, not, daughter, bow, bow.
So ought and bow have two totally different sounds, and yet the computer is able to differentiate between the two. So that's an example of what we can do with text-to-speech. It's very easy to add to applications. In fact, Microsoft Word has already created a plug-in module known as a PIM to allow the application to actually use speech directly from within Word. They've also introduced the capability to switch between the voices on the fly. So for instance, I could have a dialogue between a male and a female actually spoken back to me from within a document. A final advantage of the Cyclone Tempest architecture is the capability to use the power of the DSP chip itself. You've seen us use it for the Geoport telecom adapter as well as for speech recognition, but I'd like to show you some of the raw horsepower created by using the DSP chip. Here's an application called Painter 2.0 from Fractal Design. It's tapping in to do all of its filtering directly on the DSP. So I'd like to do a side-by-side demo where we can take a look at it using the DSP versus not using the DSP. So if I go up under my Effects menu and go to Surface Control, I can do something like Apply Lighting. Apply Lighting is a very intensive filter. When we bring up the Apply Lighting palette, we can choose any one of the filters that are available. One of the most intensive one is something like Billboard, where I have multiple spotlights. Each one of those has to be calculated by the program. Now down below here, you've seen a box that says US DSP 3210. By using this, I would get my acceleration. By not using it, I won't. So let's turn it on and say OK. Now here we're running with both of them side by side, and notice how much faster it is using the DSP once it's actually saved the file for an undo. So as soon as the two bars come up together, you can compare them. The folks from Fractal Design have actually shown that their application get anywhere from 5 to 10 times faster using the DSP in native mode versus actually running the application on the 68040. In addition to applications that write directly to the DSP like Painter, there are also third parties that are taking advantage of Adobe Photoshop filters. As you may be aware, I can just drop my filters into my plugin folder and I automatically take advantage of any of those filters. Spectral Innovations is creating some filters which write directly to the DSP. Any application which uses those filters gets the same increased performance.